Welcome, my friends. So we have Tania Rhys. Tania, do you want to give me a bit of rundown on who you are as a person and kind of why we're on the podcast? Give me an insight into who Tania Rhys is and also a little bit about the athlete mindset.
Yep. So my name's Tanya. I am 35. I just turned 35. And
Crazy, by the
I,
way. I did tell a few people like they're probably a few clients and no one believes you are 35. So that's that's
I love that.
it should be yeah, it should be a good thing. So
Well, I'm just going to say that I'm 25 for the next 10 years and see how long I can get away with it. So, yeah.
Asians, you know how it is.
So I just had my birthday. Look, my fitness journey's been a bit of an interesting one. I was really into the gym at one point when I was in my early 20s, and then I found the party lifestyle, and then it dropped off for a long period of time. And then, of course, it's just focusing on other things in my life.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, went through some pretty traumatic experiences, just life happens. And I put on a bunch of weight. And so I kind of made a plan to myself that I would get fit again. So I'm a full-time office worker as well too. So, I had to basically change my whole lifestyle to I guess factor in, exercise as a part of my life again. So yeah, I made the decision one day. I was like, I'm going to actually invest in my health because I was having issues with like my knees. I was like having issues with my back. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, how old am I now? So yeah, I came to Penrith because I moved there, and then I walked straight into World Gym, and I'm like, I want to get a PT, and I got in contact with you, Rhys, and that was kind of history from there. That was what, 2 years ago now, I think.
2 years ago, 35 kilos ago as well. So I remember
Yeah.
getting the inbox from some cardboard box person. I was like, cool, let's do it. Reference anyone listening, the Tanya's old, I know you've changed it now, but old Instagram handle was cardboard dough, but I always read it as cardboard box. So
Yeah. It was supposed to be a fun play on boxed wine and making it sound fancier. So it's like card Bordeaux. Anyway, I was basically like a functional alcoholic at one point. So that is another part of my life, which yep is happily locked away in history now. But yeah, so I think going through the journey of back to health, so to speak, was a really kind of eye-opening one. And at one point, because I was just surrounded by like the whole gym culture and everything, and watching all the bodybuilding competitions on the screen at World Gym in Penrith, I was like, hey, I want to do that maybe, but I didn't think I would ever have the ability to do it or just the opportunity to actually go and compete. So, I came to you, Race, and I was like, well, I want to give this a try and see how far we can take it. And you said, yep, okay, cool, let's do it. And that was what, like a year and a half ago.
it's
Just
been a long journey to get to prep properly starting, put it that way. So
yeah,
there was a yep, I want to do it, and then there was a definitive, obvious, from my point of view, switch where the switch flicked and we were in. So that's half the reason why I wanted to obviously get you on, which kind of leads into I guess the athlete mindset. You want to touch into base about what that is and who that is and what the goal of the page is.
yeah. So the athlete's mindset was pretty much born out of wanting to record my journey through prep, and through just the process of being someone who's completely new and not in gym culture or the fitness environment into a full competition like lifestyle. So yeah, it was originally called Mind Over Strength as a way of combining psychology and also fitness content. So I'm a studying psychology, and my aim is to become a clinical psychologist, but I want to now specialize in clinical sports psychology and performance. I think that's a really nice overlap. And so, yeah, ended up really knuckling in and actually putting some time into it this year to record my prep journey, and renamed it to the Athlete's Mindset, which was a really cool name suggestion. So thank you.
No worries, mate. I'm pretty good at marketing for everyone else but myself. So it's been really awesome to see your content and to see it kind of grow. So I guess just to reiterate for anyone who doesn't know yourself, we're 4 weeks out from our first show for season 8. We might obviously be working with 1RM, being a 1RM client and athlete for the last 2 years. We are now 35 kilos down, I believe, from where we started back 2 years ago. And the main reason I wanted to obviously get you on is to talk about the mindset and talk about, the power that has, especially in something like a contest prep. So now I spoke before about there was a definitive moment for you. From my point of view, I saw it. It's very obvious from a coach's point of view of when we're on and when we're kind of feathering the lines. Do you want to talk a little bit about when the switch sort of flicked for you and what that kind of felt like?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I think there were probably 2 instances where there was that kind of switch flick at the start, where I said, yeah, I really want to commit to improving my health. That was kind of at the start of the journey. And then there was a point where I had probably just come out of a really toxic relationship. And I said to myself, I really want to do something for myself. And I know that I can, if I put my mind to it, I can be that person and change my lifestyle. I can, I can challenge myself, and no matter what shit that I go through, I'm going to come out the other end a much better person than when I started. So I think that there was a point, I think it was like post breakup, where I said, let's do it. And I looked at my environment and I looked at my food and I looked at my mental health, and I was like, okay, this is the point now where it's either like we're on. And it was a bit of I don't know what the word is, but it was kind of an epiphany. That's the one. I just sat there and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this for myself and for no one else.
I think it's in terms of working with many clients and obviously athletes and things like that, there always has to be a moment of we are on. And I call it the switch flick because it's literally like one day you rock up as this person, the next day we're just a totally different mindset. And then that's where the really exciting things happen. And that's really the mindset that you have to have in prep. So it was cool to see. Obviously, I supported you through all the stuff that you went through, which is exactly what, like, that's what I'm here for. I'm your coach. But it was exciting for me to then see the switch flick, and you just go, right, we are fucking on, like, let's go. And then everything from a data perspective, from your feedback, it was like, yeah, okay, she's on. We're on here. We're cool. And then, yeah, I think we started the year probably 10 to 15 kilos, a little bit heavier. And now we've really knuckled down. So I'm actually bringing a pretty good physique to the stage, or it's going to be exciting. So it was cool to kind of see that happen for yourself. From a psychology point of view, so obviously you've been in prep now for 20 weeks, I believe, off the top of my head, something around that. What are some of the things that you've had to work through and you've had to use some of your psychology backgrounds in prep?
So for me, coming into prep, being now learning that it is a really mentally intense exercise, so to speak. I have always needed to be really conscious of my mental health doing anything quite extreme, because bodybuilding is quite an extreme sport. Getting stage lean and losing a lot of weight in a very short-ish period of time is quite extreme. So for people like myself who've battled with substance abuse issues, with like mental disorders. So I used to have depression. I battle with anxiety sometimes. It's something that you have to be really mindful of because it impacts your relationship with things like your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and also your relationship with food. So I used food as a crutch a lot. I used alcohol as a way to mask my issues because I'm like, if I don't feel anything, then I don't need to worry about my health or anything like that because I can just use this substance and I don't need to think about anything.
A lot of good points there. One thing I do want to touch on is the addiction side of things, because I think a lot of people who train have probably, I would say a lot of people who train have come from a background of partying and things like that. And it's very easy to trade one addiction for the other. And it's very easy to obviously you get positive reinforcement from going to the gym training and that sort of thing. Have you found, however, it's still really easy to then have negative connotations or negative things come out of that other addiction, whether it be from training, whether it be from making progress or anything like that? Did you find it difficult going from, I guess, one addiction to another? Did you find yourself slipping down an addictive route? Was there anything that you saw as a red flag for yourself?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think when it comes to addiction isn't just limited to substance. Like it can be anything that provides you with a sense of like a dopamine hit or a rush, which is, like a neurochemical reaction. So it could be with anything. Like some people get addictions to gaming, some people get addictions to all sorts of stuff. But I think if you have that predisposition to get addicted to something, you have to be really careful and start to notice the signs where you start to obsess over particular things. So if you're going from being an alcoholic or, trading Coke on the weekends to being in the gym 6 days a week, you have to be really careful of, okay, well, is it starting to now impact my ability to function daily? Am I relying on this just to fill a sense of
Just filling one hole, taking from one hole and filling it with the other, right? So,
yeah, exactly. Is it starting to impact my relationships? Am I starting to then use this in place of other things which provide me with happiness? So if you start finding that going to the gym is starting to take control of your life where you would previously be going and spending time with friends or reading or other stuff, then that's when it becomes an issue. So I think people with addiction or addictive traits just need to be careful with something like that.
and I think it's hard because obviously the people who can easily be addicted do really well in a sport like bodybuilding because it takes that much, but then it's really easy for them to then struggle with some of the negative things. Like caffeine's a big one. Everyone always, myself included, I've been there where you're just relying on caffeine, especially in the contest prep setting. Um, Things like even just like looking at yourself in the mirror and constantly looking for a dopamine rush, seeing have I lost weight, like is this looking leaner, that sort of thing. Not being feeling guilty for not being able to take a rest day, like those sorts of little things. And especially in prep is where people will tend to isolate themselves away from other people, which I made a post the other day. And one of the biggest things I said was like, that's the worst thing you can do. You pretty much still want to live a normal, happy, healthy life as much as possible. So I think it is really easy you have to be addicted in some way, you have to be focused. But when you start to have negative connotations from that addiction, like what you said, then yeah, that's where we have to, draw the line and just be careful. Because obviously at the start, positive reinforcement, but then some of the negative afflictions don't really come in until right at the end or later on down the track. So
I think that's a really good point as well too. Like there has to be a clear distinction between your dedication to the sport, but then recognizing when that starts to become disordered thinking as well.
yeah, 100%. And that's something a lot of obviously first time athletes struggle with. Everyone kind of struggles with it because, again, you've done this for so long, you get positive. You might have even won, shows and things like that. I know people who have done really well, but then really struggle with just living a normal life because they can't pull themselves out of bodybuilder to normal. I think we've all kind of been there. In terms of the prep itself, I'm sure people would love who haven't been in prep would love to know a little bit about it. How have you found it, and what are some of the things that you didn't expect that you've kind of come across, and some things that have been really tough that you kind of knew were coming that you've been able to work through?
So I've always been a fan of pushing myself. So I love a challenge. So one of the things for me is, seeing how far I could push my body. And I think it's been a really great experience in going through that kind of, because it's a new way of living and a new structure in your life. So everything is very regimented, and I find I respond very well to a clear routine, whereas usually I'm a pretty unstructured person. So if I don't have something giving me routine, then I'm chaotic. I'm all over the place. So I think setting routines has been a really great way of sticking to a plan and being consistent. I have the hardest thing for me, I think, was the food aspect, because I struggle a lot with food. I used food as a coping mechanism, particularly really shitty food.
You
Macca's.
probably relied on food for a bit of a dopamine hit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it was a source of comfort, and I think that was also another reason why I had blown up and put on a lot of weight as well too. So as I was going through that weight loss through cutting, it was actually bringing up a lot of emotions that I had masked, because it was like when you are losing weight, you're basically uncovering parts of yourself that you had buried with food. So it was a very interesting link in that respect. Um,
I remember you sent me a message, and it was of a shepherd's pie, and this is about, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks into prep, and you asked, "Hey, could I make this?" And logically, yes, you could, but I said we're not going near that, friend. We're we're keeping it as super simple as possible. So I think the biggest change that I saw from yourself when things really started to turn up was when you took the emotion out of food, when food was just there to get you through your day. And in prep, you have to keep it as bland as possible so that you don't get any sort of, or you try and blunt those responses.
mm.
But yeah, after that, that was a pretty telltale sign of like where you were able to separate the emotion from food, and it was just fuel. So
Yeah, I think learning to eat the same thing every day took a bit of a process as well. I found it's actually been quite liberating, because it has taken out so much of the decision fatigue that I used to deal with every single day. It's like, what am I going to have for lunch? What am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to have for dinner? Like every single day, and then going to the shops and then coming back. So it was like constantly revolved around food all the time. So that frees up so much more time and energy now for doing other things
and
outside
money
of food. And
and
money.
money,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I've saved so much more money, but now I'm just spending it on comp. So it all
and
balances out.
bikinis and glitz and glamour.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think the structure was really great. That's helped me a lot personally. It's different for different people. But I also found just the social support of the gym community has been amazing. I was always super intimidated by the gym and gym bros and the culture. And now I was like, oh, like I could never be like one of those gym girlies. And now I'm like quite happily and proudly one of the gym girlies. And it's fun because everyone there is so supportive, and they're just there to lift you up. And it's like, it's amazing. Yeah.
I think that is probably one of the one things I would say is that most of the gym girlies, or most of the people in the gym that you would find as intimidating, have been exactly where you have been, or anyone's been. So they're, for the most part, going to be quite accepting, and almost want to help you through. I think that's the other thing with bodybuilding, that people kind of who aren't in the space, they get a misconception, is they think that it's very much, I guess, a negative sport, and maybe it was 10 years ago, but I know now, like, it is genuinely, like, when you go to comps, everyone's talking to each other. When you go to posing workshops, everyone's there to support you. You've met a whole group of friends working through Stage Candice, like her posing. We've obviously got the one around athletes who all talk in our group chats and stuff like that. So even though it's a solo sport, you're up there by yourself, it's definitely not. It takes a whole team of people, and there is a genuine community, especially in the natural bodybuilding world as well in Australia. There's a genuine natural bodybuilding community that's pretty cool. That everyone's just there to lift each other up, and whatever happens on stage with whoever earns whatever medal is doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So
Yeah, and I think it's just about, being in this sport together, despite it being quite individual. But like you said, it takes a whole team to get someone to stage. And I just have to say, like, a huge thank you to you. And then also Candice, who's been amazing. And, physio George, he's also, so shout out to George as well, too.
he's a
Um,
CrossFitter. We don't talk about him. No.
but being a competitor now, and as an athlete, the ability to connect with other people that I would never have connected with before has been a really amazing experience as well too.
It's cool, and it's cool to see you grow as a person and kind of find your people as well that kind of uplift you. 4 weeks out, grind time. We just had our. You're probably feeling relatively good because you just had your birthday off-play meal, so that was good for the weekend. How just to give a little touch on where you're at mentally, physically, energy-wise, that sort of thing, with being 4 weeks out from a comp. If anyone's, I guess it's the grind time now. So where are you at?
So yeah, look, mentally, I feel like I'm in a good space at the moment. So I find that setting myself with a few strategies to help get me through the next 4 weeks is really important at this point in time, especially because physically I'm tired all the time. Even though I hype myself up with caffeine, obviously, like, that is not going to be my crutch.
Yeah.
But physically, I am tired and I am sore. But at the same time, it is a necessary part of the process. It just ensures that I have to structure my days around making sure that I'm getting enough rest, that I am working and keeping my mind busy to, doing things. So doing work, if I have reading, like books to read as well too, that keeps my mind busy. Also stops me getting too food focused as well too, which is something that I have noticed has creeped in over the past couple of weeks. So really important to just recognize that we've got a set food routine as well too, and you can't deviate from that as well too. So but yeah, emotionally, it is up and down as well. Like, not every day is going to feel great. And there have been some days where I've just felt really shit and I've not wanted to go to the gym, but I've just said, I just have to do it. Even if I just get there and I have a shit workout, at least I've done a workout. Or I've, done some posing practice and I haven't been able to hit the poses, or just nothing feels right. That's okay. And I would just say to anyone, just feel your feelings, because that's the only way that you're going to just be able to kind of process. If you bottle everything in and hold everything in, it's just going to make it worse for you. So feel your feelings, because tomorrow is not going to always be like that either.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing is I think a lot of people know about the obviously being tired, low energy, cardio training, all that sort of thing. But the one thing that doesn't get spoken about enough is the emotional side and the mental side of prep, in the sense of that you're essentially forcing your body to use the body fat that it doesn't want to use, so it's in stress. Your sleep starts to deprive, lower calories, we still have to keep grinding, and that's where the emotions really do go all over the place. So having people that you can lean on, especially a lot of the times you put in check-ins and stuff, is this normal? I'm feeling this, and then I'm coming back and reassuring, like, yep, it's all normal. And from what you said, it's been quite helpful. So I would say to any first-time competitors, is that have people around you who know what normal is, and who can support you through the emotions. Because then understanding why you're feeling those emotions can sometimes help massively, and then you can kind of work through it and realize that the world's not ending. It's just you're just exhausted, and that's normal.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really important to recognize as well too, like emotion, like the emotional response also comes from like the biology of your body as well too. So that's, that interaction of like the chemicals in your body saying, oh my God, we need to go into survival mode. We're going into starvation mode. So that's a completely normal response. If anyone is concerned about if they're getting super snappy. I've had a couple of days where I've just been really irritable and I've just wanted to isolate myself. But as much as we also want to do that, we just need to force ourselves also to be social and lean on support. And if you are struggling a lot mentally, then go and see a counselor, or if you've got like a therapist that you can talk to, or even a family friend if it's not as dire, then yeah, I would say lean on anyone that you can talk to because it's just going to make the experience so much better for you.
Either that or have a cry and wait 3 hours, you'll probably feel better.
Yeah.
Wait until after your next meal, and then you'll probably level out and then kind of look back and go, I was just hungry. But
Yeah.
the
Or
the
having
emotions the emotions are 100% real. And yeah, they're not to be put to the side. It's just understanding that they are just emotions, um, and they're normal. So you mentioned keep yourself busy, which you've been doing a lot of work with your content.
yes.
So the athlete's mindset, do you want to give a kind of indication of what that is? I know you said at the start it's to you want to get into sports psychology, that sort of thing. You're kind of tracking your own journey. Where do you see the athlete's mindset? What do you want it to be? What does it kind of look like for yourself in 1, 2, 3 years time?
So for me, the athlete's mindset at the moment is being able to track my journey through competition prep, and it's documenting that journey of a first-time athlete. So this is really good content for people who were like me, who haven't been in like that environment before at all, and to see what it's just like and to give people a candid insight onto what the process is like. Beyond that, of course, I'm studying at the moment, so I'm going through my postgrad and my master's to become an accredited clinical psychologist. So what that means is that is going to transform the way that the content will be geared towards athletes. So I love to focus on bodybuilding. I think it's a really great sport, and there's a lot of application of psychology within bodybuilding, also within other sports as well too. So really, this is a channel as a way of sharing content that is, not maybe as easily accessible in normal channels, and making it accessible to people to help understand what that link between psychology and your physical health is, understanding how you can improve things like your mindset, and improve your performance as well too, just with a few tweaks of, the way that you think, which directs your actions and behaviors around, your things like your food and your lifestyle and your workouts and stuff. So that's the plan. Eventually, I'd love to start running, workshops, training, consultations, talking at conferences, and also helping support people's mental health in a clinical setting as well too. So that's the goal.
Awesome. I love that, and I think it's really really cool. I know I've been wanting to run some workshops around mindset and the mentality side of things because that's huge, especially with bodybuilding. So definitely think in the future we can collab and do something there. One room and the athlete's mindset. But I know for a fact that with a lot of athletes, especially ones who haven't, like obviously the ones who like first timers, I guess the performance anxiety is there massively, but then it can even come from with I've seen it with experienced athletes and even coaches in the sense of there's performance anxiety there because there's almost an expectation. And that can sometimes even be more crippling because there's that expectation there as well. So I think that'd be really cool for you to work towards, and that goes with all sports as well, not just bodybuilding. The hard thing with bodybuilding is that you spend 6 months hyperfixating over it over for 1.5 minutes on stage. So And that's literally all you may get on that day, and then that's it, which is really, really tough. So it is the whole process having that angst around hopping on stage is quite challenging, especially when you don't get to do it that often. So having someone like yourself in the corner there would be cool. And then obviously having been able to push athletes who are really struggling mentally to yourself who might be able to convey things in a different light, in a different way, or give a different perspective may help as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's so much opportunity and potential because the space is, I mean, there's such a big focus now on health and physical fitness, and then how it all starts to build into our general sense of well-being. I think there's a lot of application, not just for people who are athletes and competing, but I think just in general. So how you can just build a better sense of self and wellness and lifestyle through really great mental resilience strategies, and then also how we can integrate that into our physical fitness as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it goes across all board, whether you're competing or not, whether people think that a goal is achievable or whether they think it isn't. If you I get saying I got told to the other day was if you don't think you deserve it, then you probably don't, or it's not going to happen. So mentally having a positive outlook, or mentally knowing that something can happen, most of the time it does happen. And sometimes all it takes is having someone on your side and telling you, yeah, we can do this. Like, we can absolutely 100% do this. Like, this is what we have to do to get there, but it can be done. So,
Yeah.
um, and most of the time that confidence from someone, from that external person, comes because they've either done it themselves, they've helped other people do it, or all of the above. So
Yeah.
I think yourself going through prep and just showing your journey, same as the way that I've kind of shown my journey, it will be really, really cool to help other athletes like yourself, which is cool. Which is exciting.
Yeah, I think, you know what? And if you think your goals are too big, then I say keep them, because I never thought that I would be jumping on stage ever. So there's nothing wrong with having big goals, because it gives you something to work towards. Obviously, like you can't have a big goal like, oh, I'm going to win $100 million in the lotto tomorrow. That's probably not achievable. But like, for the ability for someone who is thinking of competing, or for someone who just really wants to get shredded or fit, like, it is possible. Like, there are so many people who have set themselves that goal. And my original goal was like to just lose weight and be 65, 67 kilos, and that was me. But it's gone so far past that now, and it has just transformed into something that I never would have dreamed of. Like 5 years ago, me would have looked at me now and gone, oh my God, like, we can actually do that. And it's like, yeah, you can. You just have to have a structured plan, and like, consistency, and getting also a coach is a really great way to stay on track as well too. So
I was literally having the discussion with Megan, my wife, last night, or it was the other night, and she's like, and it was literally, look at where you came from 5 years ago. So I think whatever your goal is, or whatever, whether it seems too scary, or if you're not scared by it, it's probably not big enough. So um, go hard, and yeah, definitely find people who can support you. But sometimes all it takes is just knowing that it can be done, and then yeah, you'll be able to achieve it with the right planning. So, which
yeah,
is
definitely. Your vision directs your actions will direct your behavior, and your behavior will determine, what you can achieve. So, it all starts with having that vision and your goal and where you want to be, and then you just got to follow it and see it through.
well, that's cool. I'm keen to see the athlete's mindset grow. I'm keen to see it grow into something really, really cool. Your content is great. I'm very envious of your marketing skills and your Canva abilities, because it looks really, really cool. And yeah, I'm excited to work alongside the athlete's mindset in the future. So, final questions. What's one embarrassing moment from prep, and what's one um, I guess not so. What's one funny slash embarrassing moment from prep, and what's one other moment that you probably don't want to talk about? Is there any moments from prep that have been a little bit dopey, a little bit delirious?
Oh God, there's probably a few. Probably stumbling on the Stairmaster too many times. So I'll just jump on and I'll accidentally set the Stairmaster to like level 15, and all of a sudden it's going really fast and I'm like hanging on for dear life. Um, there have been probably a couple of times that I've farted while doing RDLs,
Love that.
and I've tried, tried to keep it on the down low, but yeah.
That all that extra fiber, all the extra food volume is brutal. So if anyone who hasn't been in prep is listening, not a lot doesn't get spoken about when you're an athlete. There's not a lot to hide. So hence why, and when you're that exhausted and that lean, that you kind of get over the point of caring. So
Yeah, I've also rocked up to the gym heaps of times with my t-shirts or my pants inside
I
out.
called you out the other day when you come in. I was like, hey, just let you know you're all inside out and everything. So
Yeah, my socks are inside out, my shirt's inside out, and it just got my hair was like off to the side that way. So yeah, it just got to the point where I'm like, someone's gonna see me. This is me. This is who I am. So you're welcome.
and in that same token, obviously clothes get a hell of a lot looser, especially when people lose the weight that you've lost. So there's going to be stuff hanging out at some point, whether you're with your posing coach or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Um, they don't really care. They've seen it all before, so it's no dramas there. It's a pretty open sport to say the least. So
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much left to the imagination when you're like wearing a small bikini on stage and you're getting, the tan everywhere, and then I don't know. Yeah.
same with the guys wearing a G-string. Like there's really not
Yeah,
you're not hiding much, and that down there hasn't worked for the last 6 months anyway. So you don't really care at that point. So,
exactly.
well, friend, I'm as I said very excited to see what the next 4 to 6 weeks of our journey looks like, and keen to see what the athlete mindset kind of grows into in the future. Thank you very much for jumping on. People want to find you on Instagram, where they find you, your personal, if you want to give that out, or at least the athlete's mindset. What is it?
Yeah, so my personal is Red Lotus Dragon, so REDLOTUS Dragon. Now, if you want to connect with me on the athlete's mindset, it's underscore the athlete's mindset, one word, and then underscore up underneath. But yeah, I would love to connect with anyone and everyone. Please share your stories. I would love to collaborate with anyone who's keen. I'm always interested in meeting other people within the industry, for whatever. So yeah.
Awesome. And if people are interested, when will you be taking on mindset clients? Is that a thing in the future, or is that hasn't been thought about yet? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, if people want to contact me now, I can definitely help you out with some mental resilience strategies, some psychological performance tips, anything like that. So don't be afraid to get in touch if you're struggling. I'm also just here if you need to chat as well too. So don't be
You got
afraid to.
nothing else to do when you're on the Stairmaster for 40 minutes a day, so Tanya's got loads of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. It makes the time go really quickly.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for jumping on, friend. It's been cool to chat. I'll let you go on with your day, but yeah, watch this space, eh?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.